The New Orleans Pelicans seem to be going from bad to worse. Injuries to their star players, Zion Williamson and DeJounte Murray, have hurt their season, and now they have fired their executive vice president of basketball operations, David Griffin, after 6 years. What's even worse is that Zion Williamson was close to Griffin, and now his family urging him to leave. The drama at the Pelicans is getting juicier, and Zion's response to all this will shock you. So here's what's up: the firing of David Griffin and the Pelicans' tumultuous season. The NBA landscape is constantly shifting, and what we're seeing in New Orleans right now could have major implications for the league's balance of power moving forward. On April 14, 2025, the New Orleans Pelicans made a decision that sent ripples throughout the basketball world. David Griffin, who had been serving as the executive vice president of basketball operations since 2019, was officially relieved of his duties. This wasn't just any ordinary front office shakeup. This was the culmination of years of unfulfilled potential, devastating injuries, and ultimately disappointing results. To understand why this firing happened, we need to look at Griffin's tenure with the Pelicans. Over his 6 seasons at the helm, the team compiled a less than stellar record of 263. That's a winning percentage of just under .440, which simply isn't good enough in today's hyper-competitive NBA. During Griffin's time in charge, the Pelicans made only 2 playoff appearances, once in the 2021-22 season and again in 2023-24. And here's the kicker: they couldn't advance past the first round in either appearance. The 2024-25 season, however, was the final straw. The Pelicans finished with a dismal 21-61 record, which was not only the 4th worst in the NBA, but also their worst since the 2004-05 season when they went 18-64. This catastrophic performance effectively eliminated them from playoff contention by March 13th, following a loss to the Orlando Magic. For a team with the talent level of the Pelicans, this kind of result was simply unacceptable. But here's where the story gets more complicated. Was Griffin really to blame for the team's failures, or was he just the unfortunate victim of circumstances beyond his control? One major factor that certainly contributed to the Pelicans' struggles this season was injuries. And not just your run-of-the-mill injuries, but an absolute plague that decimated their roster from top to bottom. Let's break down just how severely the Pelicans were impacted by the injury bug this season. First, there's the centerpiece of the franchise, Zion Williamson. The former #1 overall pick played in only 30 games this season, missing 52 due to injuries. This wasn't an anomaly either. It was part of a concerning pattern. Since being drafted in 2019, Williamson has missed a staggering 258 out of 472 possible games. That's more than half of his professional career spent on the sidelines. Then there's DeJounte Murray, who the Pelicans acquired from the Atlanta Hawks with high hopes. Murray managed to play just 31 games, missing 51 due to a fractured left hand early in the season, and then a torn right Achilles tendon on January 31st, 2025 against the Boston Celtics. This Achilles injury happened during a non-contact play in the first quarter, effectively ending his season. The injury woes didn't stop there. Herb Jones, known for his tenacious defense, missed 62 games due to shoulder issues. He suffered a posterior labrum tear on January 8, 2025, which required surgery and ended his season. Brandon Ingram, another key player, appeared in only 18 games before being traded, largely due to a high-grade lower ankle sprain he suffered on December 7, 2024, against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Even Trey Murphy III wasn't spared. After missing the start of the season with a right hamstring injury, Murphy played in 53 games before sustaining a torn labrum and partial rotator cuff tear in his right shoulder on March 17, 2025. Against the Detroit Pistons. The injury occurred in the first minute of the game when he dove for a loose ball. With injuries this severe and widespread, it's hard to imagine any team, let alone the Pelicans, finding success. The vaunted trio of Williamson, Murray, and Ingram never even had the chance to play together. And Williamson himself missed both of the team's playoff appearances in 2022 and 2024 due to injuries. Pelicans owner Gail Benson acknowledged the difficulty of the decision to part ways with Griffin, but emphasized the need for a fresh approach. In the team's official announcement, Benson stated, "After considerable thought and evaluation, I have decided to relieve David Griffin of his duties as Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations. This was a difficult decision, but one that I feel is necessary at this time to bring a fresh approach to our front office and build a culture that will deliver sustainable success on and off the court. I'm committed to hiring the right person to lead our basketball operations department and deliver an NBA championship to our city. That is what our fans deserve. I am truly appreciative of David for his leadership, and many many contributions to the Pelicans organization and the New Orleans community over the last 6 years. We wish David and his wife Meredith and their family all the best moving forward. This statement speaks volumes about the organization's mindset moving forward. It's not just about winning games in the short term. It's about building something that can last. The Pelicans have been stuck in a cycle of mediocrity for too long, and Benson clearly felt that Griffin wasn't the right person to break that cycle. Griffin's legacy with the Pelicans is a mixed one. On one hand, he made some significant moves that positioned the team for potential success. He managed the Anthony Davis trade skillfully, securing a substantial haul from the Los Angeles Lakers. He drafted Zion Williamson with the first overall pick in 2019, a move that, despite the injury concerns, still represents tremendous upside. But on the other hand, Griffin failed to build a team that could consistently compete at a high level. The Pelicans' defensive ratings often lagged, and their roster construction seemed disjointed at times. Whether due to bad luck, poor decision-making, or a combination of both, the team never reached the heights that many had expected when Griffin took over. It's worth noting that Griffin's career before joining the Pelicans was actually quite successful. As the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers from 2014 to 2017, he played a crucial role in building the team that won the 2016 NBA championship. This included making key moves like facilitating LeBron James's return to Cleveland and trading for Kevin Love. Under Griffin's leadership, the Cavaliers reached 3 consecutive NBA Finals, a testament to his ability as an executive. Before his time with the Cavaliers, Griffin spent 17 years with the Phoenix Suns, rising from an intern to the senior vice president of basketball operations. During his tenure, the Suns were known for their innovative approach to basketball operations, particularly in the realm of analytics. The team reached the Western Conference Finals in 2010, showcasing Griffin's contribution to building competitive rosters. So what went wrong in New Orleans? It seems that a perfect storm of factors, injuries, maybe some poor personnel decisions, and the challenges of managing a small market team combined to derail Griffin's tenure. Despite his past success, the results simply weren't there. And in the results-driven business of professional sports, that's ultimately what matters. The timing of Griffin's firing is also interesting. Coming at the end of a disastrous season, it gives the Pelicans plenty of time to regroup and reconsider their approach before the draft and free agency period. This suggests that the organization is already looking ahead to next season, determined to avoid a repeat of this year's disappointments. One interesting footnote to Griffin's firing was a disciplinary action he took shortly before his departure. According to a Clutch Points article from April 14, 2025, Griffin had suspended Zion Williamson for 1 game for violating team rules. This added another layer of tension to an already complicated situation, potentially straining the relationship between the executive and the team's star player. With Griffin out, the big question was, who would take over? The Pelicans didn't waste any time in finding an answer. Just 2 days after Griffin's firing on April 16, 2025, they announced Joe Dumars as their new executive vice president of basketball operations.
Our new executive vice president of basketball operations, Joe Dumars.
Dumars brings an impressive resume to the role. As a player, he won 2 NBA championships with the Detroit Pistons in 1989 and 1990, earning Finals MVP honors in 1989. His jersey was retired by the Pistons, and he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2006, underscoring his impact on the game.
And now I stand here now, after this long career, standing here in the Hall of Fame tonight, it's as humbling an experience for me as I'm going to ever have in my life. I thank the Hall of Fame. I thank all of you guys who came before me.
But it's Dumars' executive experience that made him particularly attractive to the Pelicans. As president of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons from 2000 to 2014, he led the team to the 2004 NBA championship. He was named NBA Executive of the Year in 2003, and under his leadership, the Pistons achieved 6 consecutive Eastern Conference Finals appearances from 2003 to 2008. This kind of sustained success is exactly what the Pelicans are hoping to emulate. Additionally, Dumars has recent experience with the Sacramento Kings and, most notably, served as executive vice president and head of basketball operations at the NBA league office from 2022 to 2025. This role gave him a broad perspective on league-wide operations, potentially providing valuable insights for his new position with the Pelicans. There's also a personal connection at play here. Dumars is a native of Louisiana, a fact that was highlighted in the announcement of his hiring. In a statement, Dumars called this appointment truly a full-circle moment, suggesting that there's a deeper meaning to his return to his home state. So with Griffin out and Dumars in, the stage is set for potential major changes within the Pelicans organization. And perhaps the biggest question mark surrounds the future of Zion Williamson. With rumors swirling and speculation mounting, what does Griffin's firing mean for the franchise cornerstone? Is he on his way out, or will Dumars be able to build a successful team around him? Zion Williamson's value and injury struggles.
With the first pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson from Duke University.
When the New Orleans Pelicans won the draft lottery in 2019, securing the right to select Zion Williamson with the first overall pick, it seemed like a franchise-altering moment. Here was a generational talent, a player with the potential to transform a struggling organization into a perennial contender. Fast forward to today, and the reality has been far more complicated. To truly understand Zion's situation with the Pelicans, we need to appreciate just how unique and talented a player he is. Standing at 6'6" inches and weighing around 284 pounds, Williamson is a physical anomaly, combining the strength of a power forward with the agility and explosiveness of a guard. When healthy, he's nearly unstoppable, able to bulldoze his way to the rim against almost any defender. The statistics back up this assessment. In the 2023-24 season, Williamson averaged 22.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 5.0 assists per game, while shooting an impressive 57% from the field. These numbers demonstrate his scoring efficiency and all-around contribution to the team. And this wasn't even his best statistical season. In 2020-21, he averaged a career-high 27.0 points per game on an even more remarkable 61.1% shooting. When we look at Zion's impact on the Pelicans' win-loss record, the data is telling. In the 2023-24 season, the team went 42-28 in games he played, a winning percentage of 60%. Without him, they were 7-5 or 58.3%. While this particular season shows only a slight advantage with Zion on the court, other seasons tell a more dramatic story. In 2020-21, for instance, the Pelicans had a 47.5% win percentage, 29-32 with Williamson playing, compared to just 18.2%, 2-9 without him. These numbers make it clear. When Zion Williamson is on the court, the New Orleans Pelicans are a better team. His combination of scoring, playmaking, and sheer physical dominance creates mismatches that opponents struggle to handle. He's the kind of player who can single-handedly change the outcome of games. But that's the catch, when Zion Williamson is on the court. Because for all his talent and potential, Williamson's NBA career has been defined almost as much by his absence as by his presence. The injury concerns that some scouts raised before the draft have proven to be well-founded, as Zion has missed a significant portion of his professional career due to various ailments. Let's take a closer look at Williamson's injury history, particularly focusing on the 2024-25 season. Zion suffered a left hamstring strain early in the season, which caused him to miss 27 games. Based on game logs, this injury likely occurred around early November 2024, after he had played just 6 games. He finally returned on January 8, 2025, but his comeback was short-lived. On March 19, 2025, during a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Williamson sustained a bone contusion in his lower back after taking a hard fall. This injury proved to be season-ending, with the Pelicans officially shutting him down on March 31st. All told, Zion played in just 30 games during the 2024-25 season, missing 52. This pattern of injuries has been a recurring theme throughout Williamson's career. Since being drafted in 2019, he has missed 258 out of 472 possible games. That's nearly 55% of his potential playing time spent on the sidelines. He has yet to play more than 70 games in a single season, and he missed both of the Pelicans' playoff appearances in 2022 and 2024 due to injuries. The impact of these absences goes beyond just the games missed. There's a cumulative effect on team chemistry, game planning, and overall organizational stability. It's difficult to build a cohesive team when your best player is constantly in and out of the lineup. Coaches can't establish consistent rotations, teammates can't develop reliable chemistry, and the front office faces challenges in constructing a roster that can function both with and without its star. Zion's injury struggles have also had significant financial implications. In July 2022, Williamson signed a 5-year contract extension worth $197,230,450, with an average annual salary of $39,446,090. However, the deal includes non-guaranteed years from 2025 to 26 onward, with clauses tied to games played and weight checkpoints. These conditional guarantees reflect the team's cautious approach given his injury history. For the Pelicans, this represents a massive investment in a player who has been available for less than half of the possible games. It's a financial commitment that's difficult to justify based on availability alone, regardless of how dominant Zion may be when he does play. The physical nature of Williamson's game complicates matters further. His playing style, characterized by explosive bursts to the rim, acrobatic finishes, and powerful dunks, puts tremendous strain on his body, the very attributes that make him special, his size, strength, and athleticism may also contribute to his injury susceptibility. Managing Zion's physical condition has been a challenge for the Pelicans from day one. There have been ongoing discussions about his weight, conditioning, and overall approach to fitness. While these conversations often happen behind closed doors, they occasionally spill into the public domain, creating additional pressure and scrutiny. In December 2024, Williamson made a significant business decision, changing agencies from CAA to WME's Bill Duffy. Some analysts interpreted this move as a sign of potential business handling related to his contract or future moves, adding another layer to the speculation surrounding his future with the Pelicans. This agency change came amidst a backdrop of long-standing rumors about Williamson's contentment in New Orleans. Back in 2021, reports from NBC Sports mentioned that Williamson had family members who wanted him to leave the Pelicans, citing dissatisfaction with the organization. While these reports are several years old, they feed into the narrative of potential discontent. The relationship between Williamson and the Pelicans has had its share of tension. As mentioned earlier, former executive VP David Griffin suspended Zion for one game shortly before Griffin's own firing due to a violation of team rules. The exact nature of this violation wasn't specified, but the timing certainly raised eyebrows and potentially added to the friction. Despite these challenges, it's important to note that when healthy, Zion Williamson is undeniably one of the most exciting and impactful players in the NBA. In the 2024-25 season, he averaged 24.6 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 5.3 assists over his 30 games, showcasing his all-around brilliance. His unique combination of size, speed, and skill makes him a matchup nightmare for opponents. Few defenders have the strength to handle him in the post, and even fewer have the quickness to stay in front of him on the perimeter. When Zion drives to the basket, it often takes multiple defenders to stop him, creating opportunities for his teammates. Beyond the numbers, Williamson brings an electricity to the game that few players can match. His thunderous dunks, acrobatic layups, and powerful moves in the paint make him a highlight waiting to happen. He generates excitement among fans and presents marketing opportunities that are valuable to both the Pelicans and the NBA as a whole. This combination of on-court impact and star power is what makes Zion's situation so complicated. The Pelicans have invested heavily in him as the face of their franchise, but his injury history raises legitimate questions about the viability of that approach. Building around a player who misses more games than he plays presents obvious challenges, regardless of how talented that player may be. The arrival of Joe Dumars as the new executive vice president of basketball operations adds another dimension to this equation. Dumars is known for his ability to build competitive teams without relying on traditional superstars. The Detroit Pistons team that won the championship in 2004 under his leadership was characterized by balance, defense, and teamwork rather than individual star power. This approach could suggest a willingness to move away from the Zion-centric model that the Pelicans have been attempting to implement. However, Dumars is also known for his basketball intelligence, and he surely recognizes Williamson's immense talent and potential. The question isn't whether Zion is a great player. When healthy, he clearly is. The question is whether his availability issues make him too risky to build around, and whether the Pelicans might be better served by trading him for a package of assets that could provide more consistent value. If Dumars does decide to explore trade options for Williamson, there would likely be no shortage of interest around the league. Despite the injury concerns, Zion's upside is such that many teams would be willing to take a chance on him, hoping that a change of scenery or different medical approach might help him stay healthy. A Yahoo Sports report from April 17, 2025 suggested that teams like the Brooklyn Nets and Miami Heat could be potential destinations if the Pelicans put Williamson on the trade market. These reports indicate that teams are already positioning themselves for a potential Williamson sweepstakes should the Pelicans decide to go in that direction. The combination of Zion's star power, his on-court production when available, and the possibility of untapped potential with better health makes him an intriguing target despite the risks. For the Pelicans, a Zion trade would represent a dramatic pivot from their current team-building strategy. Since drafting Williamson in 2019, the organization has made moves with the explicit goal of maximizing his prime years. Trading him would necessitate a complete reimagining of the team's direction and timeline, but sometimes a fresh start is what both sides need. As of April 24, 2025, there is significant speculation and uncertainty about Williamson's future with the Pelicans, but no official transactions involving him have been recorded. The upcoming offseason is expected to bring clarity, with decisions influenced by the new leadership under Joe Dumars and ongoing trade discussions. The Pelicans' recent social media activity suggests that Williamson is still part of their plans, at least in the short term. The team's official X account posted a season recap featuring Zion on April 21, 2025, and highlighted his stats on April 22, 2025. These posts indicate that there hasn't been a complete severance of ties despite the speculation. However, social media content can be misleading, and the real indicators of the team's direction will come in the form of actual personnel decisions made by Dumars and his team. The coming weeks and months will be crucial in determining whether Zion Williamson's future lies in New Orleans or elsewhere. The question is whether that potential will be realized in a Pelicans uniform or whether his journey will take him to another NBA destination. With the firing of David Griffin and the hiring of Joe Dumars, the stage is set for potential major changes in New Orleans. And no potential change would be more significant than the departure of Zion Williamson, the player who was supposed to lead the franchise into a new era of success. The future of the Pelicans and potential trade scenarios. With David Griffin's exit and Joe Dumars' arrival, the New Orleans Pelicans stand at a critical juncture. The decisions made in the coming months will shape the franchise's trajectory for years to come. And at the center of these decisions is the future of Zion Williamson. Let's explore the various scenarios that could unfold and their potential implications for both Williamson and the Pelicans. First, let's consider what a potential trade involving Zion might look like. Despite his injury history, Williamson's talent and marketability make him a valuable asset. According to various reports, several teams have expressed interest in acquiring him, with the Brooklyn Nets and Miami Heat frequently mentioned as potential suitors. Dumars might be comfortable moving away from a Zion-centric approach if he believes it would lead to a more balanced and sustainable team structure. However, it's also worth noting that Dumars has never had a player with Williamson's unique talents at his disposal before, which could influence his thinking. In his first press conferences as the Pelicans' executive VP, Dumars has been non-committal about Williamson's future, neither confirming a desire to build around him nor indicating plans to trade him. This measured approach makes sense for a new executive who wants to thoroughly assess the situation before making major decisions. It's important to remember that trading a player of Zion's caliber is not a decision to be taken lightly. Despite his availability issues, Williamson is a rare talent with the potential to be a franchise cornerstone for years to come. If the Pelicans do decide to trade him, they would need to receive substantial value in return to justify the move. One factor that complicates any potential trade is Williamson's contract situation. His 5-year extension, worth nearly $200 million, includes non-guaranteed years from 2025 to 26 onward, with clauses tied to games played and weight checkpoints. This structure provides some protection for the team, but might also affect his trade value, as acquiring teams would inherit these conditional guarantees. Another consideration is the potential for Zion to overcome his injury issues. At just 24 years old, he's still young enough to potentially put these problems behind him with the right approach to conditioning and load management. If the Pelicans trade him, and he subsequently stays healthy elsewhere, it could be viewed as one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history, especially if he fulfills his superstar potential. This risk of regret must be weighed against the risk of continuing to invest in a player who has been available for less than half of his possible games. It's a classic dilemma of potential versus reliability, with no easy answer. Beyond the Zion situation, the Pelicans face numerous other questions as they look to rebound from their disappointing 2024-25 campaign. One key decision will be whether to retain head coach Willie Green. Despite the team's poor record, there have been indications that Green's job is safe for now, though Dumars will undoubtedly want to evaluate the coaching situation as part of his overall assessment. The Pelicans will also need to make decisions about other key players. DeJounte Murray, acquired from Atlanta, played in only 31 games due to injuries, but showed flashes of the all-star caliber play that made him an attractive acquisition. His recovery from a torn Achilles will be a significant factor in the team's planning. Brandon Ingram was traded mid-season after playing only 18 games, removing one piece of the originally envisioned core. The players received in return, Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, will need to be evaluated to determine if they fit into the long-term plans under the new front office. The Pelicans also have promising young talent like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III, both of whom missed significant time due to injuries this season. Their development, along with that of other young players on the roster, will be essential regardless of whether the team retains Williamson or not. The 2025 NBA Draft will provide another opportunity for the Pelicans to add talent. With their dismal record in 2024-25, they're positioned for a high draft pick, potentially giving them access to a blue-chip prospect who could either complement Zion or help jumpstart a post-Zion rebuild. All of these considerations will feed into the ultimate decision about Zion Williamson's future. If Dumars believes he can build a contender around a healthy Williamson, supported by the right complementary pieces, then keeping him makes sense. But if he sees a trade as the fastest path to sustainable success, then exploring that option becomes the priority. The financial implications of any decision are significant. The Pelicans Pelicans are a small market team that can't afford to have a max contract player perpetually injured. The conditional guarantees in Williamson's contract provide some protection, but they don't eliminate the opportunity cost of building around a player who isn't consistently available. From the Pelicans' perspective, the decision about Zion is just one piece of a larger puzzle. The team's dismal 21-61 record in 2024-25 indicates problems that go beyond just Williamson's availability. The roster construction, coaching approach, and overall organizational culture all need to be evaluated and potentially overhauled. This is where Joe Dumars' experience becomes particularly valuable. His initial comments since taking the job have emphasized a commitment to establishing standards and building a culture focused on discipline and accountability. In a recent interview, he stated, "I'm focused on setting the standards of what we're going to be, and I think we need to be disciplined, tough, and have a no excuses mindset." This philosophy suggests a potential shift in how the organization approaches player development and team building. There's also the matter of fan sentiment to consider. Williamson, despite his injury issues, remains a popular figure in New Orleans. His electric playing style and charismatic personality have endeared him to the fan base. Trading him would risk alienating supporters who have invested emotionally in his development as the face of the franchise. However, those same fans have endured years of frustration watching their star player in street clothes more often than in uniform. There might be a growing acceptance that a change is necessary, especially if it brings back pieces that can contribute to consistent winning basketball. The timing of any potential trade would be another consideration. The upcoming NBA draft, scheduled for June 2025, could be a logical moment to make a move, as draft picks would likely be part of any package for Williamson. Alternatively, waiting until closer to the 2025-26 season might allow Zion to demonstrate improved health, potentially increasing his trade value. Whatever the case, I'll be here to give you the inside scoop. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.